During my wife's birthday dinner I'd spent our last savings on, she excused herself to take a call, following to ask about dessert. I heard her tell someone, "He's pathetic. Blew our last money on this stupid dinner thinking it will save our marriage. Don't worry, once his mother dies, we'll get her house and I'll leave him." I got Andrea and returned to the table, continued the celebration without letting on. 6 days later, my phone blew up with 13 missed calls from her. So my wife Charlene and I have been married for 7 years. Not perfect, but I thought we were solid enough to weather the storm we've been going through lately. Money's been tight since I lost my main source of income 8 months ago. I've been picking up whatever gigs I can find, delivering food, helping my buddy with his lawn care side hustle, that kind of stuff. It's been rough, but we're managing, or so I thought. Last week was Charlene's 30th birthday. Despite our financial situation, I wanted to do something special for her. She's been mentioning this fancy restaurant downtown for months. You know, one of those places where they put tiny food on huge plates and charge you like you're buying a small car. I'd been squirreling away cash here and there, skipping lunches, selling some of my stuff online, goodbye Xbox and fishing gear, and managed to save up 600 bucks. Yeah, I know how that sounds. $600 we really couldn't spare, but hey, what's a birthday if not special? My mom Dolores has been dealing with some health issues lately too, which has added to our stress. She's 68 and lives alone since Dad passed 3 years ago. I try to help her out when I can, but between working two jobs and trying to keep our own heads above water, it's been challenging. Charlene and my mom have always had a complicated relationship. That's putting it mildly. But I figured we're all adults here, right? The night of Charlene's birthday started off great. She seemed genuinely surprised when I told her where we were going. She wore this tight black dress I hadn't seen in ages, did her hair up all fancy, looked amazing, TBH. The restaurant was exactly what you'd expect. Dim lighting, waiters who judge you for pronouncing the menu items wrong, and portions that would starve a toddler. But Charlene was glowing, so I was happy. Then came the moment that changed everything. About halfway through dinner, Charlene's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then excused herself to take the call. Said it was work stuff that couldn't wait. I didn't think much of it at first. We all have those moments, right? After about 5 minutes, I realized they were about to bring out the next course, and I wanted to ask her if she'd prefer the chocolate thing or the fancy fruit plate for dessert. So I got up and headed toward the bathroom area where she'd gone to take the call. That's when I heard her voice coming from a little alcove near the coat check. She was speaking in that low, intense tone people use when they're trying not to be overheard. I was about to call out to her when I caught what she was saying, and my blood turned to ice. She was telling someone. Later found out it was this guy Jensen she works with. He's pathetic. Blew our last money on this stupid dinner thinking it will save our marriage. Don't worry. Once his mother dies, we'll get her house and I'll leave him. I just stood there, frozen. Like my brain couldn't process what my ears were hearing. There was more. Stuff about how I was dragging her down. How she deserved better. How Jensen made her feel alive. You get the picture. The worst part? She laughed. Actually laughed about spending our last savings on a dinner she thought was stupid. My first instinct was to walk right up and confront her. But something stopped me. Maybe shock. Maybe some kind of self-preservation instinct kicking in. Or maybe I just wanted to see how deep this rabbit hole went. So I quietly backed away and returned to our table before she could see me. 2 minutes later, she came back all smiles, apologizing for the interruption. Said her coworker had a crisis that needed immediate attention. I just nodded and smiled back. While inside, I felt like I was burning alive. We're talking nuclear meltdown levels here. The waiter came by asking about dessert, and I ordered both options. Charlene raised an eyebrow and said we couldn't afford that. I remember saying something like, "It's a special occasion, live a little," while thinking about how she was literally planning to cash in on my mother's death. That's some next-level coldness right there. The rest of dinner was surreal. I kept the conversation going, asking about her day, complimenting her outfit, all while this loop of her words played over and over in my head. He's pathetic. We'll get her house. I'll leave him. With each passing minute, shock gave way to anger. White-hot, mind-clearing anger. But I didn't let it show. Not once. I paid the bill, watching all that money disappear hurt in a whole new way now. Left a decent tip, because the server didn't do anything wrong, and drove us home while Charlene chatted about how nice the evening was. The whole time, I'm gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white, but she didn't notice. Too busy texting someone. 3 guesses who. When we got home, she was all over me. Birthday intimacy and all that. I went through the motions but felt nothing except disgust. Afterward, she fell asleep quickly while I stared at the ceiling, replaying everything I'd heard, connecting dots I should have seen months ago. The late-night work calls, the sudden interest in my mother's health and house, the way she'd been subtly pushing me to talk to Mom about estate planning, and making sure everything's in order. How she'd started mentioning this Jensen guy more and more in conversation. All those little red flags I'd been too trusting, or maybe too stupid, to see. Around 3 a.m., I carefully got out of bed and went through her phone. Yeah, I know. Invasion of privacy, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, at that point, I didn't care. And surprise, surprise. There it was. Hundreds of texts between her and Jensen, going back months. Plans for their future together. Jokes at my expense. Discussions about my mother's house and how they'd use the money once they sold it. They even had a timeline worked out. FFS. I took screenshots and sent them to myself, then put her phone back exactly where it was. She never stirred, probably exhausted from all that betrayal. The next morning, I acted normal. Made coffee, kissed her goodbye as she left for work, told her I loved her, all while planning what comes next. Because this isn't ending with me crying into my pillow or having some dramatic confrontation where she gets to play the victim or spin things her way. No, this is going to be calculated, methodical, the kind of response that's served cold. I spent yesterday thinking through every angle, making lists, considering options, called out sick from my morning gig to get my head straight, and I've decided what I'm going to do. It's not pretty, but neither is planning to profit from my mother's death and 7 years of marriage. Step 1. Protect my mom. I'm heading over there today to fill her in and make sure her house and assets are secure. That's non-negotiable. Step 2. Quietly start separating our finance. Won't be easy since there's not much to separate, but what's there needs to be protected. Step 3. Gather more evidence. I need to know exactly how deep this goes and who else knows about their little plan. Then comes the part where Charlene learns what happens when you underestimate the pathetic guy you made. I'll update when there's more to share. For now, I need advice on how to legally protect my mom's assets ASAP. Anyone with experience in this area, I'd appreciate your input. And if you've read this far, thanks. Still feels unreal typing it out, like I'm watching someone else's life implode. How did I miss the signs for so long? Was I really that blind? Update 1. First off, the response to my last post was overwhelming. Thanks to everyone who offered advice, support, and their own horror story. Misery loves company, I guess. Anyway, a lot has happened since I discovered my wife's little betrayal plan, and it's time I filled you guys in. The morning after I posted, I headed over to my mom's place. Driving there, I kept rehearsing what to say. How exactly do you tell your sick mother that her daughter-in-law is basically waiting for her to kick the bucket so she can cash in? Not exactly a Hallmark card moment. Mom was having one of her better days. When I arrived, she was already in the kitchen attempting to make banana bread, despite doctor's orders to take it easy. The house smelled amazing, but her hands were shaking so bad she could barely hold the mixing spoon. I took over while she directed from her chair at the table, telling me I was doing it all wrong. Classic mom. The whole time I was trying to find the right moment to bring up the Charlene situation. Mom must have sensed something was off because she finally put down her coffee mug and asked me straight up what was eating me. Said I had that same look I'd get as a kid when I broke something and was trying to hide it. So I just told her everything. The birthday dinner, the overheard phone call, the texts, Jensen, the house plans, all of it. The words just tumbled out like word vomit. I tried to be gentle, but there's really no gentle way to deliver news like that, is there? Mom's reaction wasn't what I expected. No tears, no shock. She just nodded slowly and said, "I've been waiting for you to figure it out." Wait, what? Turns out, Charlene had been visiting Mom regularly for the past 4 months, always bringing little gifts, helping around the house, asking about her medication, her will, her finances. Mom said she'd always feel exhausted after these visits, like she'd been through an interrogation. And get this, Charlene had been subtly suggesting that Mom simplify her affairs by adding Charlene's name to her accounts to make things easier when the time comes. You know, because Charlene works in finance and understands these things better than Clay does. I was floored. Mom never mentioned any of this to me because she didn't want to cause trouble in my marriage. She figured Charlene was just being helpful, even if it felt off. It wasn't until last month when Charlene started pressuring her more aggressively about the house that Mom started to feel something wasn't right. That conversation with Mom changed everything. My anger went from simmering to full boil. This wasn't just about Charlene betraying me. She'd been manipulating my sick mother. That crossed a line I didn't even know existed. After making sure Mom was okay, we called her neighbor Lane to come sit with her while I made a few stops. Lane's this retired dude who's had a thing for Mom since Dad passed, though she pretends not to notice. He was there in 10 minutes flat with a casserole and his little dog. Mom pretended to be annoyed, but I could tell she was glad for the company. My first stop was the bank where Charlene and I have our joint account. I won't bore you with the details, but let's just say I learned some interesting things. While I've been scraping by on delivery gigs and odd jobs, putting every penny into our joint account, Charlene apparently opened a separate savings account 6 months ago that I knew nothing about. The balance? $8,400. Let that sink in. While I was selling my Xbox to afford her birthday dinner, she had over 8 grand squirreled away. The account statements showed regular deposits, way more than her part-time job should have been paying. Either she got a massive raise she never mentioned, or, well, you connect the dots. Next stop was to see my buddy Holden. He does IT support and knows his way around digital stuff. I explained the situation, and he helped me recover deleted messages from our home computer's cloud backup. And oh boy, did I hit the motherlode. Not only had Charlene and Jensen been planning this for months, but they had a whole timeline mapped out. According to their messages, Mom was supposed to not last beyond winter. Their words, not mine. They were already browsing real estate listings in another state, talking about what they'd do with the money from selling Mom's house. There were even intimate photos. Let's leave it at that. The whole time I'm discovering this stuff, Charlene is texting me like everything's normal. Did you remember to pay the electric bill? And can you pick up milk on your way home? The disconnect between these mundane messages and what I was uncovering was surreal. I came home that evening with a plan. Not a perfect one, but a start. Charlene was making dinner, rare enough that I should have been suspicious right there. She asked about my day, and I gave her the performance of a lifetime. Told her work was stressful, that I was worried about Mom, that I was feeling overwhelmed with our finances. Basically, I played right into her image of me as this pathetic, struggling husband. And she ate it up, got all sympathetic, rubbing my shoulders, telling me everything would work out. Even suggested we should think about the future and maybe discuss options with your mom's house to ease our burden. The audacity of this woman is next level. For the next few days, I kept up the act, moping around, looking defeated, mentioning how tired I was of struggling. Meanwhile, I was making moves. Got Mom to a lawyer friend of Lane's who specialized in elder care. We set up a trust for her house and assets that would ensure she's taken care of regardless of what happens. No way Charlene's getting her hands on any of it now. Moved what little money I had left in our joint account to a new account in only my name. Left just enough to avoid suspicion. Found a cheap studio apartment across town and paid the deposit. It's basically a shoebox with a toilet, but it's Charlene-free, which makes it a palace, in my book. Started documenting everything. Screenshots, recordings. In a one-party consent state, don't worry. Bank statements, the works. Consulted with a divorce attorney, the free consultation kind, because, well, not all of us have secret bank accounts with 8 grand in them. Keeping all this from Charlene has been the hardest acting job of my life. There have been moments where I almost slipped, like when she was texting someone at dinner 3 nights ago, smiling at her phone, and I wanted to grab it and throw it through the window. Or when she mentioned that Jensen and his wife are having problems, with this little glint in her eye. But I've kept my cool. Even manufactured a little crisis to test her. Told her my cousin Juliet, who doesn't exist, needed to borrow $3,000 for an emergency medical procedure. Said I felt obligated to help since she helped us out last year. Charlene flipped, said we couldn't afford it, that family always takes advantage, that we need to put ourselves first. So I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You're right, I need to start putting myself first." The irony was completely lost on her. Yesterday, things got interesting. Charlene announced she's going on a girls' weekend with coworker, leaving tomorrow, Friday, coming back Sunday night. Even showed me a group chat discussing their plans. What she doesn't know is that I've seen her real messages with Jensen planning their little getaway at a cabin upstate. Same dates, very different company. The girls' weekend was my opening. With Charlene out of the house for 3 days, I can finalize everything without her knowing. My lawyer already has the divorce papers drawn up. Mom's house is now officially protected in a trust. My essential stuff is gradually making its way to the new apartment. I told Charlene I was donating old clothes and books to clear space. She didn't even glance at the boxes. This morning, I dropped the first hint that something might be off. Over breakfast, I casually mentioned that Mom called and was thinking about changing some things with the house. Charlene nearly choked on her toast, asked what I meant, trying to sound casual, but I could see the panic in her eye. I shrugged and said Mom was being vague, probably nothing. Charlene spent the next 20 minutes trying to subtly pump me for information, then suddenly remembered she needed to make a phone call for 3 guesses who she was really calling. She's been on edge all day, checking her phone constantly, asking weird questions about Mom. It's like watching someone realize their winning lottery ticket might be fake. The tiny shifts in her expression would be fascinating if they weren't so infuriating. As I'm typing this, she's upstairs packing for her girls' weekend. Keep smiling, honey. Pack those nice outfits for Jensen. Enjoy your little romantic getaway, because when you come back on Sunday, your carefully constructed house of cards is coming down hard. The plan is simple. While she's gone, I move the last of my stuff out. Sunday morning, my lawyer sends the divorce papers to her at the cabin with Jensen, along with printouts of all the evidence. Then I block her number until Sunday evening when I'll be ready to take her call from my new place. I'm not even angry anymore. Okay, that's a lie. I'm still furious. But there's also this weird sense of clarity. Like I've been swimming through mud for months, and suddenly I can see clearly. I won't miss the constant worry about money while she's secretly saving. Won't miss feeling inadequate because I can't give her the lifestyle she won't miss the subtle put-downs and manipulation. I'll update you all after the weekend when everything goes down. Thanks again for all the support and advice. Knowing I'm not alone in this has helped more than you know. Oh, and Mom's doing better now that the Charlene stress is off her shoulders. Lane's been coming over daily with his little dog. She pretends to be annoyed, but I caught her slipping the dog treats and laughing at Lane's terrible jokes yesterday. Silver linings, I guess. Finally, update. It's done. The nuclear option was deployed and the fallout has been, well, exactly what she deserved. First, thanks for all the support on my previous posts. Your advice helped me turn this from a simple divorce into a complete dismantling of Charlene's life as she knew it. Never thought I'd be the type to go scorched earth, but hearing her plan to profit from my mother's death changed something. When Charlene left for her girls' weekend Friday morning, I executed every phase of my plan with military precision. The moment her car disappeared, I called Holden to help move my stuff. While loading, he casually mentioned knowing Jensen's wife through mutual friends. Wait, Jensen's wife? Yep, turns out Mr. Wonderful wasn't exactly single. They're separated but still legally married, a detail he forgot to share with Charlene. Holden offered to connect me with her. Perfect ammunition. By noon, I'd emptied the apartment of everything I cared about. 7 years reduced to a few boxes and bags. While Holden grabbed lunch, I made some calls. First to our landlord, explaining I'd be moving out and Charlene would need to take over the lease herself. Then utilities, removing my name from everything. Next came the financial hammer. That secret account with $8,000? In our community property state, both spouses have legal access. I transferred exactly half to my new account and used the rest to pay off our joint credit card debt. All legal, all documented for divorce proceedings. By evening, I was setting up my belongings in a small studio apartment with questionable carpet stains. Not glamorous, but it was mine. No backstabbing wife, no lies, no waiting for my mother to die so someone could profit. Meanwhile, Charlene posted their first cabin photo, sunset view with 2 wine glasses. Caption, much needed relaxation with the girls. #blessed hash. Weekend vibes. Oh, the audacity. I screenshotted it for the divorce file. That night, I drafted what Lane called the nuclear email, a detailed account of everything I discovered with screenshots and timestamps. No angry accusations, just cold facts presented chronologically. Didn't send it yet, though. Timing is everything. Saturday morning, I visited Mom. Lane was already there making breakfast. Mom looked better than she had in months. Removing toxic people works wonders. I explained the plan, and Mom actually high-fived me. The conversation turned serious when she mentioned struggling with her house's upkeep. Lane suggested selling and moving into his single-story ranch house. The way they looked at each other, definitely something brewing there. This sparked an idea. One called a Mom's lawyer, and we had an appointment Monday to place her house in an irrevocable trust for her care. Charlene would never see a penny from it. Meanwhile, I connected with Lindsay, Jensen's wife. She wasn't surprised about the affair, but was shocked about their plans for my mother's house. We developed our own plan. She would show up at the cabin Sunday morning, about an hour after my divorce papers were delivered. Sunday morning, the courier delivered my package to the cabin at 10 a.m. Divorce papers with evidence attached, statement of financial adjustments letter, about Mom's house being placed in trust, printouts of Charlene's messages about waiting for Mom to die, USB drive with all additional evidence, and yes, a glitter bomb, petty but satisfying. At 11, Lindsay texted, "I'm here, perfect timing." I kept my phone off until 2 p.m. When I powered up, the notifications exploded. 13 missed calls, 27 texts, 4 voicemails. The texts told the story of her unraveling. 10:13 a.m. What is this? 10:42 a.m. You can't be serious with these papers. 11:07 a.m. Lindsay is here. WTF did you do? 11:33 a.m. Jensen is making me leave. Please answer. 12:15 p.m. My car won't start. I'm stranded. 1:06 p.m. They're firing me? Did you call my work? 1:37 p.m. My parents won't answer. What did you tell them? 2:01 p.m. I have nowhere to go. Please. While this was happening, I sent the nuclear email to our entire social circle, not just for vengeance, but because they deserved to know who they'd be helping when Charlene inevitably asked for support. At 3 p.m., I called her back. She answered immediately, barely recognizable through her tears. She tried every tactic. Denial? I had screenshots. Anger ineffective against my calm, bargaining too late, and finally desperation. Jensen had kicked her out. Her car had issues, and no one would answer her calls. I explained home no longer existed for her. Her name was solely on the lease. Utilities would stop unless transferred, and her secret account was half empty. The most satisfying moment came when she asked about Mom's house. Even then, she was still thinking about what she could get. I took pleasure telling her Mom was selling, proceeds going to an irrevocable trust and moving in with Lane. But that's not fair, she actually said, like she was entitled to profit from my mother's death. You know what's not fair? Planning to cash in when someone dies, cheating while watching your husband sell possessions to buy you dinner. That's not fair. This is justice. I hung up and blocked her. Had dinner with Mom and Lane, helping them plan their combined household. Lane's offered me his spare room for as long as you need. Today's been about tying up loose ends. My lawyer says Charlene is contesting the divorce but has zero grounds given the evidence. Mom's house goes on market next week. Trust paperwork being finalized. I've applied for better paying jobs now that I'm free from Charlene's schedule. Most surprising development? Lindsay texted to thank me. We're meeting for coffee next week to compare notes on our respective divorces. Not a date, just two people helping each other navigate the mess. As for Charlene, she's at a motel since no one will take her in. Her workplace put her on unpaid leave. Those work calls violated company policy. Jensen wants nothing to do with her now there's no inheritance. Her credit score is tanking. Her parents finally called back but refused to let her move home unless she agrees to therapy. The karma is almost poetic. I won't pretend I'm completely okay. 7 years is a long time to waste on someone just waiting to leave. There are moments when sadness creeps in. Not for losing Charlene, but for losing the future I planned. But then I remember her saying, he's pathetic, and once his mother dies and the anger returns. Some betrayals cut too deep for forgiveness.